Okay, so about a week ago, I had the pleasure of watching Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. This is a movie that had been on my radar for quite some time. And weirdly enough, it was last week or the week before, I think it was the week before, there was a night, I think it was like Saturday, where I just out of nowhere was like, that's right, I still haven't seen that movie, but I'm really interested in it. Then the next day, a couple of my friends were like having their movie day, which they do every Sunday. And my roommate comes back. He's like, "Yeah, we watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind." I was like, "What the fuck? I really want to watch that." Like, I was just thinking about how much I wanted to watch it, but alas, like I was busy that day. I wasn't able to go, and I also didn't know they were watching that one specifically. So, the fuck is that? I think my cat shed a claw. I'm gonna throw that away. Anyways, so I ended up borrowing my friend's copy, and I watched it. And I know it's not a movie that's currently in theaters, but I do like structuring movie reviews as a no spoiler, mild spoiler, full spoiler, unless it really is something where there's just nothing to spoil. Like, I know I did that with Elemental because there's really not a lot to spoil in that movie. But regardless, I do want to do that for Eternal Sunshine. So no spoilers. The first thing I have to say is that I think the performances are fantastic. The reason I was so interested in this movie is one of those rare movies where Jim Carrey is known for a dramatic performance rather than a comedic performance. And as I have said for years, my favorite Carrey performance is in The Truman Show. It is it's a movie I haven't seen in a long time. And it's like from what I remember loving it. I remember loving the idea, I love remembering the concept. I remember that scene near the end, which, yeah, I guess I won't go full into the Truman Show. I don't want to accidentally spoil it. But it's a movie I loved. Like, another, like, dramatic Carrey role. I want to see it, and I think he fucking delivered. Kate Winslet, who is the other lead. You got Jim Carrey playing Joel, and Kate Winslet playing Clementine. She kills it, too. I think they are both absolutely fantastic. And in addition to their great performances, yeah, the supporting roles are good as well. Kristen Dunst is in the movie. She plays a woman named Mary. Her performance, it's... Sorry, I had to, like, swallow. That wasn't me being like, how do I say this right? I was like, no, I got some shit in my neck. Her performance at first seems fine, nothing too special. And then by the time I got to the end of the movie, I was like, she might have had the best performance in the movie. Like, what they really did with the character, I thought was fantastic. I thought she absolutely killed it. Mark Ruffalo is in it. He doesn't do a whole lot. Like, he's all right. I don't remember the name of the guy who plays Howard. I liked his performance a lot too, and I keep wanting to say Tobey Maguire, even though it's Elijah Wood. I don't know why. It's like I can see Elijah Wood as Frodo, and then when I see him not as Frodo, like in this movie or in Wilfred, for some reason to me, he and Tobey Maguire are just twinsies in my head, and I don't know why. But regardless, Elijah Wood's character, I don't remember his name. Did I have it written? I think it's like Patrick or Pat or something. Yeah, it is Patrick. He's creepy as hell. He's so slimy. And it's weird seeing that from Elijah Wood. And I thought he did a good job of it. I'm like, I like this. I guess he learned something from Gollum along the way. On top of the performances, I love the cinematography in this movie. There's some scenes in particular where what they do with the mindscape, which I go, quick pin in there, I think are really creative. Like, there's a scene where Joel and Clem are running through, I don't remember if it was an airport or a train station. I think it was a train station or like a bus stop or something. And then people are just disappearing. Just pop, 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 pop. I thought that was so fucking cool. There's so many scenes where you'll see someone with like a warped face. It's like their proportions are off, or like there's no mouth or eyes, but it's like just a blank face. I think there was one scene where like Patrick appeared in the dream and his face was like super deformed. I was like, shit, he really did learn something from Gollum. I loved that shit. And then the one that really sticks in my head is when Joel and Clem hide in a memory of Joel as a kid. And so you just have Jim Carrey wearing his pajamas and everything around him is fucking massive. Like he's taking a bath in the sink. And I was like, oh, did they just construct a giant set for this? Like, it might have just been an effect to make him look small. And like, I hope you just made a big fucking set just for these, like, 7 minutes of screen time. This is awesome. I love it. So the other non-spoilery thing, let me take the pen out, is to explain the basic premise, because this is it's the premise of the movie. I don't feel like that's very spoilery. Is Joel and Clem were in a relationship. The relationship went sour. And Clementine had a procedure done from a place called Lacuna, I believe. Which every time I say it, my brain just wants to go Lacuna Matata, and I kind of hate it for it, but it is what it is. Excuse me. I don't remember if they ever give a name for the procedure, so I'll just probably refer to it as the procedure. I might even call it just like the Eternal Sunshine procedure, why not? But what the procedure is a tech or two, I don't know if you can hear that sound, you probably can, that's Bahamut using his letterbox. But a tech will go into your house while you are asleep and monitor your brain activity while deleting specific memories from your brain that you're aware of. You have consented to this, but it's essentially like, I want to get rid of this person from my mind. My relation, like, I lost my dog. I think there was one lady that said it was like she lost her dog. She wanted to remove all memories of her dog. Maybe it's you got into a fight with your mom. And you're like, I don't want to know about my mom anymore. All those memories will be gone. Clementine, after the relationship ended, did that to Joel. Joel found out and said, fuck you too. I'm going to get her removed from my mind. So what you are seeing in the movie, and then there's times where you'll also see the real world, like the techs working on stuff. You'll see some of like, well, this is what Clementine is doing now that she is not remembered anymore. But it is Joel going through the procedure and going through his memory with Clem, working backwards. If you've ever played the game To the Moon, it's something kind of like that, with the text like going into your head, seeing the memory. I don't think that the texts in this movie don't actually see the memories. They just monitor the brain activity. But it is doing this and going backwards. And I remember liking the story of To the Moon a lot. I just didn't get into actually playing it. It just felt weird. But I really got into this. So now I'll go ahead and move into the mild spoilers, so just talking about some of the set pieces and shit. One of the big things that happens is after like a few memories in, Joel's kind of like, oh, I remember this one. It's gonna be kind of sad to see this one go. I remember this. I remember kind of like how I fucked up here. Now, Clem was not an angel herself. She didn't help. But, I'm not entirely blameless either. I'm not entirely spotless. And then as it keeps going, he's like, no. Oh God, I don't want to lose this one. Please not this one. Oh, please not this one. Please not this one. I made a mistake. I did something impulsive. I did something because I was angry. I did something because I was emotional. I don't want to forget her. I don't want to forget the times we had. How this, I feel like, has made me a better person. Has made me a more complete person. And I can learn from my mistakes. But I can't. I won't feel that completeness. I won't be able to learn. And I know I won't miss her when I wake up because I won't remember. But I don't want to lose her. And him doing what he can to try to fight it. Him going into different memories of his, like in other parts of his brain that aren't connected to Clem, and taking the memory of Clem with him so she can, just to hopefully still have that fragment of her left. It's really interesting, and it is really heartbreaking, and like I said, I just fucking loved it. You have Elijah Wood, who his thing is like, he is one of the techs. He works for Lacuna Matata, and he was on the job with Clementine when they were going through her memories and deleting her shit, and he's talking to Stan, which I believe is the name of Mark Ruffalo's character, and he's like, hey, you remember, I think they kind of bring it up, it's like, oh, no shit. We did, like, the guy we're doing right now, we did his ex, like, a week ago. Like, that was our last job. Like, that's fucking crazy. Small world, blah, 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 blah. And Patrick's like, hey, that girl that we did? Yeah, what about it? I kind of, while we were in her house and shit, I kind of stole a pair of her panties. You fucking what? Yeah, just took one. And I'm kind of seeing her now, and from, like, I've read a lot of Joel's, no, like, now, like, I've got his notebook and, like, her diary, been able to read that, and I know we're supposed to get rid of that shit, but that's stuff I can use to, like, get that girl, and I can, like, woo her and shit. And there's scenes where he's literally talking to Clementine and saying the exact words that Joel said to her. And it's me as the audience watching this, I'm like, this is making my skin crawl. This is so creepy. I hate this. I love this. But it's like, what's wrong with you? Like, this whole procedure it just feels unethical, but it's interesting. You know, you have to, like, you know, you're not going to do it without consent. But then you got this as where I think Stan's like, dude, like, this is the most unethical fucking shit I've ever heard. What is wrong with you? It's great. But I love how, like, when he starts using Joel's words, Clem just realizes there's something wrong. Like, I know those words and I know what they mean to me, but you shouldn't be saying them. What's wrong? Something's off, and I don't know what it is. Let's see. I think what I want to go into is just, like, talk about the themes of the movie, which that is to me, that is one of the two big themes of how you can't really erase a core memory. It'll always kind of be there, and to me, that's really what that scene is. It's her, it is Patrick recreating a scene from Clem's memory to essentially supplant Joel. Where I think there was a character in Bleach that could do that. It's named, like, Tsukishima or some shit. It's like he had a sword, and it's like if he cuts you with his sword, he can inject himself into your past. And I don't fucking remember. It was kind of stupid. I don't know, maybe it was cool, but I remember reading it and going like, what? Okay. But essentially he's trying to do that. He's like, I am trying to supplant myself into your past, so now you think I'm super important to you. You're my girl, I love you, I can come up with all this shit. But she knows it's not right because that memory of Joel, even though it's gone, it's not erased. It's in there somewhere. The other big theme of the movie is just communication. Couples therapy exists for a reason, y'all. If you love somebody and there's issues, that's fine. That's a human thing. But that's why we have mouths. It's so we can talk. We can communicate with each other. Because, like, it seems like so many of their issues was just poor... It really was... Joel could not fucking communicate his feelings very well. He would be very closed off while Clem was super open. It's almost like the difference of, I communicate too much, I communicate too little, and there's no golden mean inside our relationship. And that's what really caused it to break down. And also just, you know, like, personality conflict, shit like that. Things that do happen that you can work through, you can communicate through, but ultimately just didn't opt for the procedure instead. So, I think the only other, like, mild spoiler thing I want to talk about, it's a very, very short sequence where apparently what happened is while they were filming, they got word that there was a parade and that there was just a bunch of elephants in the street. I don't know where this was. I want to say it was, like, New York or Chicago. I think Chicago? I could be wrong. And they're like, fuck, do we want to just make a scene there? So apparently what happened was, like, they didn't tell anybody that they were going. They didn't have, like, big cameras or anything. They just had, like, a small, like, handheld camcorder, and then just filmed Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet just kind of hanging out and looking at some elephants. And it's... I don't remember the narration of the scene. I think that's when Mary is actually reading the quote, which I think it's a... I specifically remember it's Alexander Pope, not Pope Alexander, because they make that joke in the movie. But it's... Yeah. It is where the phrase eternal sunshine of the spotless mind comes from, which I believe is something about, like, you know, if the beauty of not being able to remember, if I'm remembering correctly, I'm about right. And it's during that scene, I was like, this is This is just really pleasant. This is just lovely. Like, not the narration. The narration and context of what's happening is pretty fucking sad. But just these two actors who weren't even really acting in this scene. They're just having a good time together. It's like, this is lovely. I enjoy this. But I will go ahead and go into the full spoilers, so give a quick countdown. 5, 4, 3. Why did I do that for 0? I don't fucking know. I have cerebral palsy. My motor skills and fingers are just fucking weird, man. Anyways, full spoilers. A core memory can never really be deleted. What we see very early on in the movie, I think it is the first scene, is Joel waking up, not really having direction for the day. He gets on a train, just kind of goes somewhere. He's like, I don't fucking know why. I just really want to go to this place. He goes, and while he's like by the beach, he ends up meeting this girl. And that ends up being Clementine. So they meet, they talk. She's being super talkative. Seems like she really wants to get to know him. And Joel's very quiet, reserved to himself, kind of awkward. But they talk. They seem to get along well enough. Although Clem is a bit annoyed that Joel isn't really interacting with her as much. And he's like, she's really cute and everything, but she's maybe a bit much. But by the end, they have a good time together. They hang out a little bit. He ends up going home, gives her a nice little call afterwards. And I think the next scene after is, he drops her off at her place. And then Elijah Wood knocks on his door and his car door, and they talk for a couple seconds. So the way it's presented at that point is, this is how the two of them first met before the relationship fell apart. What you find out at the end of the movie is, this is after they both had the procedure done. Because Joel's procedure, despite his best efforts, was successful. He does not remember her. However, that memory is still there. He went back to the place where they had first met. Clem went there too. Because after all those dealings with Patrick, she realized something's wrong, something's off. And in both of them, trying to remember, they know, almost instinctively, where they need to go. And I find that really interesting. I find that really sweet. I know there's an alternate ending of the movie, and I'll talk about the actual ending in a second. The alternate ending is that it's a much older Clem going to Lacuna and trying to get the procedure done again, and being told, oh my god, again, you and Joel have been doing this for years. Being in a relationship, going south, trying to erase each other, meeting each other again, and rinse and repeat. Which is you really can't erase a core memory, can you? It's you're so important to the other, you are drawn to each other, and it's you are made for each other, but it just doesn't work because you two fuckers can't communicate. Come on, this isn't that hard. The actual ending of the movie is they get their files from Lacuna, and I will put a pin in there, I'll explain why in a bit. But they get their files, each of them listens to their tape, and they're like, huh? That's weird. They're wait, I already met that person? Wait, I tried to forget them? I had this relationship with them? I clearly loved them, but there were major problems, and I really like the conversation they have after. Which, from what I remember, it's I really liked it. I don't remember it, but I liked it. But from what I remember, it essentially boils down to, what is the point of trying to be a thing? I like you, you like me. It seems like we kind of have something, but we know how it ends. We will fail. We know we will fail. Is it really worth it? And them not really giving an answer. It's left very open-ended. Me, personally, the vibe I got from watching the scene was, well, we know how it's gonna end, but fuck it. let's do it anyway. Because maybe we can learn from this. Especially if it's like, if we still both have the tapes. I know how I came up with... There's that sense of, like, if I listen to your tape and you listen to my tape, we can see the issues we had with each other, which will hopefully lead to us being more open and more understanding of each other and communicating. I don't like how I was saying communicated by emphasizing two fingers punching. I'm not trying to say they should communicate with their fists. Fucking whoops. But that was the vibe that I got. But I also remember there is a scene where Joel, I think he angrily is crying and he throws a cassette tape out the window. In those early scenes, which might be that, no, they decided not to do this and that's why. And it was the kind of movie where as soon as I finished, I said to myself, I should watch this again. I didn't. Because I feel like I would have a better love for the start of the movie. And be like, oh, okay, this means this means... Oh, fuck, this is impeccable. I do want to watch it again at some point, though. So that's the ending. The other pin I have to take out is the reason they got their files is because of Mary. So Mary works for the company. Howard is the doctor in charge of it, the procedure. It's like his brainchild, I suppose. And she is in a relationship with Stan, but they're having some issues with the procedure because Joel is trying to fight it. So Howard comes over, helps with it, and Stan ends up going outside for a bit. I don't remember if he was just full on went home or if he was getting something to eat. Mary is alone with Howard, and they're talking for a bit, and she really, in this scene, feels like she's coming off as, a schoolgirl with a crush on her teacher. And then she kisses him, and he kisses her back. Around this time, Howard's wife, who's a bit sus that Howard, had to get up in the middle of the night to go do something, ends up going to the house, seeing in the window Howard and Mary kissing, kind of going, okay. So Howard sees that, he goes outside and is trying to talk to his wife. I don't remember exactly what she says, but it's something along the lines of if you want him, you can have him. You mean you haven't told her, Howard? Don't be a monster. And she drives off. So what you find out in the actual cut of the movie is they had an affair. At least to some degree. Don't know how much of it was a full-blown affair, if they had slept together once, if they had never slept together, but they'd kissed a few times. But Mary's always had a thing for Howard. Howard had got Mary to do the procedure to forget him. It was okay, you can forget about the affair. You can still work here, which sounds really weird. It's okay, you knowing about me is a problem, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to erase you from my memory, or erase me from your memory, but you can still work here with me. His wife was okay with that? He thought this was a good idea? That really feels like I'm going to get rid of my mistake, but I'm going to keep the situation around because I really enjoyed my mistake. And if it happens again, it happens again. I mean, it's not my fault that I'm so charming. That's almost how it feels. It's so, the more you think about it, the more you're what the fuck? And Mary, at her disgust of what happened, it's I fell for you, and then you had me erased, kept me around, just for me to fall for you again. This is really fucked up. And she listened to her tape and decided that, no, I think this procedure is fucked. Clearly it doesn't really work because, it got rid of him, but it didn't really get rid of him. It didn't get rid of my feelings for him. They were still here. So I'm going to do another unethical thing and just send everyone their tapes back. Here's your file. Get your memories back. Deuces. What you find out in a deleted scene, which I have not watched all the deleted scenes. From what I understand, there's a good handful, and it sounds like there's some that people really like, some that people aren't as good on. But generally speaking, everyone says, this scene should have been in the fucking movie. And it's when Mary's listening to her tape. They talk about how, I don't remember exactly what they say. I think they do just use the word abortion. With the implication being that this was a full-blown affair. she got pregnant, and then Howard had her get an abortion and also had her get the memory wipe. It is possible that the memory wipe was specifically because the abortion was so painful she had to forget everything. It might have been, get the abortion and then forget about me so we can just sweep this all under the rug. Which just, yeah, when his wife is like, you didn't tell her, you fucking monster. You're like, yeah, he kind of is. And then when you think about it, it's like, yeah, he made her get rid of all that shit. It's heavily implied that he was the one pressuring her into it. And then still kept her around. Like, ugh. Oh, that's just gross. Don't do that. But there's a line when she's talking to Stan. I believe it's when she's talking to Stan in Joel's apartment when the procedure is happening. I don't remember the exact line, but she's talking about like the beauty of the procedure, and it's something along the lines of like, an adult mind, it's kind of like a shitty thing. Like, you're so full of like stress and regret and all this crap. But then you have the mind of a child, like the mind of a baby, which is like so sweet and like wonderful. And then Howard just makes it all go away. And in the original cut of the movie, it's just like, oh, okay, she's just like, yeah, like, being an adult sucks. Having a childlike mind that's like more innocent and free, and Howard can, make the horrible shit go away. Okay, she just like really believes in her procedure. She really thinks Howard is cool. With that deleted scene and with that knowledge, and then she's like, yeah, it's like a baby, and Howard makes it all go away. Oh, yickety yikes. Oh, it's so uncomfortable. I love it. I think this movie is so well done. It's so interesting. But fuck, man. But I feel like I'm kind of done talking about the movie itself. So if that's all you wanted to hear, just me talking about the movie, the things that happened, my overall thoughts on it. My overall thought on it is I fucking loved it. At some point, I want to watch it again. Because my feelings on how the movie ends, which feels like a weird thing to say but makes sense in context, my thoughts of the ending of the movie might change once I rewatch the beginning of the movie, given its actual non-linear storytelling. But I loved it. Again, I think the cinematography is great. I think the performances are great. I think the concept is amazing. And I think the execution of it is really good. I do think that deleted scene should have been in the movie. But even without it, it's just like, yeah, this is still fucking fantastic. It just would be a little bit better. Now, I don't even say a little bit better, because I feel like this is a core chunk of Mary's character. It is like the just final piece on top that's just like, oh. But without it, it's still like, yeah, this is really fucking good. But I feel like just for the sake of it, since it's a movie about relationships, relationship woes, and relationship regrets, I would share one of mine. This is what I would probably consider the biggest regret of my life. Which makes it sound like I'm about to joke. It's like, man, like this is something that keeps me up at night. It's like, no, it's not like that. I guess when I say it like that, like I don't have a lot of things I like crazy regret. Okay. Probably my biggest regret at this point in my life is I didn't invest in GameStop a decade ago or Bitcoin a decade ago, because I could have been rolling, could have paid my loans and shit. That's probably my biggest actual regret, but that's more of a pure hindsight is 2020 thing. But this is more of a personal blah, 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 blah. I think you get what I'm saying. So here's the story. This was my 1L year of law school. And there was this girl in my class that I really liked. And I will be honest, I'm very much like a Joel when it comes to romance, where I'm like, yeah, like I'm just super awkward. I get super reserved. I'm really, like, I can talk to a girl no problem if she's just like my friend. They're like, you're just another friend and gender doesn't matter. But when it's someone like, oh, I really like this person, I just get super fucking self-conscious, and I hate it. So yeah, when Clem is talking to Joel, and he's like, yeah, like, I want to keep talking to you, but I just feel like I can, like, oh, I hate this because it's just me on the screen. But regardless. Oh, we will call her Eleanor Rigby. I don't want to use her real name. I don't want to do anything like that, but we'll just go with a nickname based off a Beatles song. So, Eleanor Rigby was a friend of mine, but she was someone I had a bit of a thing for. But, we become friends, we talk about stuff, blah, 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 blah. And it was about halfway through the year, around, I think pretty close to... No, that part didn't happen yet. Sorry, just trying to get the timeline straight in my head. So at one point, I had asked her out, and I remember the way I did it was... This is really goofy, but I wrote a lawsuit. I remember what I did was, because I remember she really liked civil procedure, which civil procedure, if you don't know, or Civ Pro, this is about like how you actually do like the filing of a lawsuit for a civil suit, not criminal. Like this is all like the kind of technical bullshit and know-how you have to know how to do. What court do you file in? How much can you file for? How do you serve somebody? Do you actually have the jurisdiction to do it in this state or in this venue, etc., etc., etc. I was like, she likes that class. What's a fun thing I could do? Because if I just go up to her and ask her out, I'm going to be a stuttering mess and it's going to be awful. But what can I do that's fun? I'm going to write a lawsuit, and it's going to be for, like, the crime of stealing my heart. And yes, I did that. I deadass did that. So I made up elements for the crime. I don't remember what they were. Don't ask. But I remember doing that. And I went to her roommate, who was also a good friend of mine. I was like, okay, service needs to be proper. So I need you to give this to her. And like I did the whole thing. And I was like, okay, like come meet me like this time at this place, which was like down the hill. Because, like our law school was on a hill. Which is a place I would walk to every now and then because it was just a nice fucking walk. So I remember being there, waiting. I remember specifically listening to the song Rhythm of the Night at the time. Just one of those weird details that I remember clearly. Which, by the way, if you've ever heard the video, the Reebok or the Nike, one of the greatest things on the internet. But I was listening to Rhythm of the Night. She showed up, and I was like, holy shit, she actually showed up. You mean it worked? I mean, she might not say yes. She didn't. That shows how funny that sounded. I was like, she didn't. I was like, she actually showed up. I'm surprised I made it this far. But essentially the way that part of the conversation went was, you are my friend. I like the fact that we're friends. I have someone else that I'm interested in. I respect the effort. I respect the hustle, but I'm just not interested. I was like, okay, it happens. Pretty sure I know who you're interested in, and that dude is super fucking cool. I love that guy. No bullshit for me. So a month or two-ish, maybe a month and a half later, she and I were talking, and I find out that she is in a relationship. Not with that dude, but with a different dude that I guess she had also liked. So somehow I got roped into being her, like, relationship therapist. Like, there was a few other people. It's like, all right, these are, like, the people I talk to about my my issues with my boyfriend. And I was one of them. And I remember, like, my little shoulder devil would be like, okay, so you still like this girl. And she's trusting you with her relationship issues. And I mean, look at this. Look at this shit. It's so easy for you to just be like, yeah, he's an asshole, dump him. And you, everything being honest here, he's kind of an asshole. She should probably dump him. You don't have to empathize with him. You don't have to give her, like, him the benefit of the doubt. You don't have to actually be an unbiased party here and, like, try to make this work. You can do this. And it sounds like the other people she talks to aren't really in its corner either. Come on, JJNW'S. And then my shoulder angel's like, yeah, but, I mean, yeah, the guy does it. With the shit going on, it seems like he is kind of an asshole. But, I mean, maybe if you give him the benefit of the doubt, and I mean, maybe, like, let me ask it to you like this. Do you really want to be that asshole who's just like, yeah, I'm going to use the fact that she trusts me to fuck up her relationship? You're really going to be that dude? And I'm like, no, I'm not. So I didn't. Like, I gave, as best as I could, unbiased advice. And it's like, look, he's kind of an asshole. But, you know, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, blah, 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 blah. Genuinely doing my best to be as unbiased as possible. And it was an interesting few months. I think the majority of the second semester was that. Because I think, that's right. Because I think I found out about her relationship just before summer break. So a lot of the next semester and over the summer too, I was a relationship counselor, weirdly enough. And so it was like, I still really like this girl. I don't want to poison her relationship. I should, but I won't. Unfortunately, it's just not the kind of person that I am. I don't remember if her relationship with him had ended by this point or not, because it did. Or if it was like, it's right about to. Like, this is done. There's, like, no going back. I don't even remember what it was. I don't remember if he, like, cheated or something, or it was just like, I'm sick of him. Which, fair. But I remember she and I went on a walk up the mountain. Which is something I think we had done a few times. Anyway, actually, we had done it a few times anyways. Like, I really liked walking up the mountain. Especially, like, at night. You're, like, this nice, starry night. I think that was it, because it was really close to the end of the second semester. I was like, do you want to go and, like, take a nice walk up there? Stargaze. Might be really fun. So we did that. We set up some chairs. And it's, like, foggy as fuck. It wasn't, like, foggy, but it was super cloudy. So there was, like, no moon, no star. And I was like, so much for fucking stargazing, man. That's ass. But I remember us sitting there talking about shit. Talked about that relationship. Talked about other stuff. Like her brother, my family, blah, 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 blah. And the thing that I remember is, like, we were talking about relationships and shit and how that relationship had gone down the toilet. And I remember her saying something along the lines of, but you know, there's someone else that I'm really starting to like. And then she looked at me. And I remember in my head going, oh, well, what do you know? I did it. Like, I met someone that I really liked, really admired. And even though I was put in a position where I could have, like, trashed that dude, destroyed that relationship, I didn't. I did not have to compromise my integrity. He did that himself. Like, he destroyed the relationship himself. But with what she's saying, and it's like, now granted, she could say that, and like, that doesn't have to mean me. And she could just be looking at me because, she finished a sentence and we're having a conversation. But I know what that look means. Holy crap. And I didn't really say anything. Because I also remember thinking, what if you're wrong? What if, in this, like, perfectly written moment, which I wasn't even going for, maybe I was, but, like, I wasn't like, all right, I'm going to set this up, I'm a confessor, like, anything like that. It just happened like that, where she says, like, yeah, there's someone else, and just looks right at me. What if she's not talking about me? What if I kissed her? And that's not what she was going for. Well, that's awkward. Just the idea of like, yeah, like I invited her to go for a walk up the mountain, and then when we were alone, like I kissed her and then she pushed me off. I'm like, oh, I don't want to have to tell that story. Like, that's just, in context, I feel like you kind of understand, like it makes sense. And if, it was wrong, it was wrong. I'm sorry I kissed you. But I'm like, fuck, I don't want to have to tell that part of the story. Like, it's just awkward. Like, it sounds way worse than it actually was. But boy, it sounds fucking bad. And that was either right as or like right before the whole Me Too movement was happening. And I was like, oh, that's like gonna be really, really bad. So, I didn't kiss her. I didn't say anything. It was a perfect, like, this is the moment. I let it slip. That, to me, is probably my biggest regret. Again, aside from, like, investing in Bitcoin or something. Now, I will say, if I am just being honest about it, to me, I see it less of a, that was the girl of my dreams and I lost her. She is the one that got away and it was all because of me. Like, I lost out on the love of my life. Because I liked her. I really did. I really cared about her. But I really don't think it would have worked. I can be honest about that. But what I truly regret is kind of the experience of it. Like, yeah, maybe it wouldn't have worked out. But it would have been a nice thing. Like, I'm really dry in my mouth. I need to go get I'm almost done anyways, but I'm going to have to drink a bunch of water before the next movie review, which will be Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. Anyways, play. Because, like, I had a lot of friends who were in couples. Like, a lot of my friends from law school got married, and quite a few of them, like a decent little amount, got married to each other. So that would have been kind of cool. It's like, hey, instead of being the third wheel on some of my friends' dates, we could have been on double dates. That could have been just nice. I would have liked... I guess that's kind of it. It's like, do I regret... Is it my regret because I lost out on the perfect woman? No. But it's a regret because I really want to know what would have happened. And it is entirely possible that I was misreading the room and my decision was correct. Don't kiss her. That is not what she is insinuating. But it's like, well, if my read was right, something really interesting could have happened. Something really fun could have happened. And I will never have that experience because ultimately I choked. Now, is that something I would want to get erased from my memory? Eternal Sunshine style? No. If anything, it's almost kind of the opposite. Like I said, with like Joel and Clem, like it's communication is important. It's like, yeah, it seemed like she communicated, again, from my understanding, it was like, it felt like that was something very well communicated to me. I just did not communicate it back very well. And honestly, I think throughout that friendship and relationship, it was like, I didn't super communicate maybe as well as I could have. But that is shit for me to learn. It's shit for me to really grow from. So, again, just to end the video, movie's great. If you've seen it, I hope you enjoyed it. Like, did you enjoy it about as much as I did? Like, have you decided to rewatch it and you're like, yeah, it's really rewarding, watch it the second time? Or is like, nah, you could, like, it's good to rewatch it because movie good, but you don't have to, like, really rewatch it to gain a better understanding of it or anything. I'm curious to know. And that's about it. Like I said, I'm gonna go get some water and try to record again.